I was going to say that we've missed a whole chunk of the episode right here, but we obviously haven't, so we're good. Perfect.
Recorded. So like speaking of alignment, like obviously you guys know, like working in creative agencies, a lot of the times we're having like clients coming in for specific campaigns and the whole team is so misaligned. Like they give us like a very vague brief, right? And they're not willing to explore the problem. And they're asking us to pitch in just anything without much information. So it's pretty messed up. Like at that point, we cannot go to the founder and say, oh, we need to do brand strategy. So what do we do in that situation?
It's tricky. Like in my years of experience, I never had, or I could count it on the fingers of one hand, a client that came to me and said, I have a brand strategy problem. I need a brand strategist, right? They all come with the touch point and the outcome that is easier for them to understand, which help me out, guys, which is usually marketing campaign, need a rebranding, website, traction, all these kind of things. And every single time the conversation that we approach, or the way that we approach this conversation, is trying to go deeper, trying to dive deeper, right? We use the simple technique of asking questions, right? How so? Why? Tell me more. How? And all that we are doing by asking questions is facilitating that understanding that is a deeper rooted problem. And going back to your original question, it's the challenge of our life, right? It will be great if people will come to us and say, listen, I need to reposition because of this XZ. I need a brand strategy because I need a holistic alignment and need to push the company forward into the future. It almost never happens. There are some really good CMOs out there that they're having this conversation, but 99% of the time, the brand strategy is not the highlighted problem by the client. It's actually the prescribed process by the brand strategist into a conversation that is facilitated towards that scenario.
Yeah, because we have this like recurring issue. Like I've worked in advertising mainly, and I kid you not, in some countries, the madman culture still exists. Like we're gonna have people with cigarettes, and like it's just very toxic. But anyway, like that's besides the point. Most of the companies, they are going to give a brief, but they're not willing to like explore the problem. Right? They're gonna say, okay, our target audience is people aged 25 to 45, and they're going to say, okay, we just want to raise awareness on the brand, and it's just like that. So what are the very good questions we can ask people to really diagnose the key problem? Because apparently, I think all companies who come in not knowing what they want, they have a strategy problem.
I agree. I think generally the question is formulated from their question or their brief. So, for example, if they're asking, we have an awareness problem, the question, the obvious question to me is there, who are you trying to make aware of this problem? Like, what is the end goal? What is the objective of the awareness? And kind of just like Martin said, kind of just keep digging and digging. And if I find that with the bigger companies and the marketing teams of bigger companies, it's a lot harder because they've wanted things done yesterday, right? So it's the onus falls on us to really ask the right questions. And I think at that point, it's just, really, like Martin says, just dig deeper in terms of that end goal, what they are trying to achieve, and then work backwards. That's what I found is easy.
I think reversing is the way. And I tell a lot of people that I mentor or whatever, like, they come with you with the final output, what they believe is the right thing to do. An obvious example is I had a guy that came to me and was like, I need a rebrand. And this was in the middle of the pandemic, and he was so shocked when I said, like, why do you feel you need a rebrand? Like, tell me more about your business. And he's like, well, I'm just not getting any customers. So I delve in really quick, and I'm like, well, tell me about the background. He's like, well, you know, it's been around for 56 years. It's a removal company that removes, I guess, offices to offices. So office relocations, or it relocates people into new businesses. So I fly somebody from the UK and move all their stuff and put them in a job in, New York or whatever. So I was like, so you're telling me it's 50-year-old and you need a rebrand because all of a sudden you need to get more customers. I was like, who's your biggest client? And he was like, oh, we relocate people for BP, and we do like 50,000 or whatever relocations a year. Mad, like some insane number. And I was like, why do you feel like it's a rebrand that you need? Like, an identity is not going to change this. And he's like, why? I'm like, you're in the middle of a pandemic. Like, nobody's flying anywhere. Like, and he was so shocked to be like, wow, I've not even actually thought of that. Like, and you're like, it is so simple, but you reverse back into that. Like, so the bigger thing is you need a repositioning exercise to work out how you can use your business to relocate people. Are you clearing out empty offices in the middle of a pandemic? Are you doing X, Y, Z? Like, it's more about repositioning and realigning than rebranding. And yeah, at the end of the day, I think it was more shock in me just kicking back, saying, well, I don't want to just rebrand you for the sake of it. Like, it's more about how we reposition you as a business to make you money. Like, it's shocking. Simply, like, the most obvious things to some are just clearly not the most obvious things to others.
And I think you have to be comfortable in being that annoying kid that keeps asking why and why and why. And a lot of us, definitely creatives, will just kind of even, especially when you need business as well. It's like, it's easy for us to just say, okay, we'll do it, or we'll do that without challenging the client, because it takes a lot of courage as well to almost talk people out of what they want to do originally, because you're really trying to find the right problem, because that's what it's about. It's framing the problem, and the problem that many clients come to you with might not be the right problem, and majority of the time it's not.
Coincidentally, I lost that job because I didn't just say, yes, I want to do your logo or your ident.
I got it, Wes.
Yeah, you probably did. But you know what I mean? Like, and he was so shocked, and like, rather than seeing the value that I was offering him, because he wanted that tangible output, like he's like, okay, I'm going to go to a marketing agency, and I was like, all right, go. Like, that's what you want.
He's probably used to the yes man approach. Yes, we can do. Yes, we can do. And probably went to one of those marketing agencies that has brand strategy at point number 15 of their offering, in page number 3 of their website. Because now it became also such a buzzword, right? So it's tricky. But going back to your question, your original question, guy, it's really hard, because they come with a self-prescribed problem, which is usually very superficial, and they want ideas. They want, especially and most of the time also, they want ideas for free, which is shocking, isn't it? You wouldn't go to a private doctor or an esthetician and then say, oh, you know what, I want to see your ideas of how you can improve my health or how you can improve my appearances, and then if I like it, I'll pay, right? And actually I'm going to go to another 5, and then if I like it, I pay. Or you wouldn't go to the petrol station or to the mechanic and say, fix my car, if I like it, I'll pay for it, right? So there is a much deeper problem in that, which is that we as creatives, we also screwed up our own industry, right? Take, for example, law or lawyers. Is 250 euros for a letter. You go to the next door, is 250 euros for the letter. You go to the next door, is 250 euros for a letter. You don't find template, the price is fixed, the services are agreed, and they're all pretty much on the same level. Now, take that example and put it into a creative industry, right? You can get a logo for 50 euros, or you can get a logo for 500,000. But what was it, $1 billion project, the new Pepsi logo?
Pepsi,
yeah. I suggest you go and check their presentation. These guys went absolutely bananas with trying to find converging circles that were aligning to astronomically to the planets, like mental explanation of the logo, like ridiculous to that point. But it's $1 billion project. So where is the difference in this? So from one hand, yes, the client is approaching it from the wrong way, but from the other end, us as creative, we also have responsibility to fix what is happening in our industry. Right? And I believe Ash is doing it with his LinkedIn content. I'm doing it as well. Wes is doing it. You're launching this podcast as well, because there is tons of work that we need to be done.
Huge amount, yeah.
Yeah, and create this brotherhood of and sisterhood and brotherhood and community of creatives and help people that have zero understanding of what creativity is, what emotionality is, what brand can do for their financial metric. Help them understand it's up to us, because in school right now, as for now, no one is talking about it. No one even mentions brand in those universities that are forming the current CEOs. So if they don't do it, we have to do it.
And the repercussions of not asking the right questions as well, the irony of it is that it will impact your brand as a brand strategist, right? Because what you're doing is you're succumbing to those easy requests, and you're doing what the client wants, not necessarily what will work. And then 6 months down the line, or 2 months down the line, or whatever, how short-term or long-term or mid-term their view was of the project, it doesn't work. And generally, if you're not framing the right problem, it's not going to work. That's going to reflect badly on you.
Yeah.
So you would rather say no. If you saw the long-term impact of that on you selfishly, you would then rather say no. And in hindsight, you wish you would have asked those more pertinent questions.
Yeah. Very true.
It's basically what Wes did with that project, isn't it? He didn't get the project, he didn't get the money during the pandemic, which I'm sure you would have benefit for a few extra checks, right? But what you did there, you raised yourself as a professional in the industry, and that's the thing. We as strategists and people in this industry, we always take the most complex route. That's the reality. We do not say yes. We do not have average conversation. We have deep and difficult conversation, and we might piss people off sometimes. But we do say it at the beginning of our workshop, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be uncomfortable. You might not like us because we're gonna push you hard. And this person, especially Wes, he busts the ball of everyone in the workshop so much until these guys are crying out. But that's what needs to be done, because as he says, right, these next couple of hours are defining the next 25 years of your brand.
Yeah.
And that's how Wes opens our workshops, right?
Yeah, and I always use the scenario, and I learn it in America, and it's, if somebody's going to operate you for the next 8 hours and it's going to extend your life 25 years, would you do it? Yes or no? And I've never met anyone yet, and I don't think I ever will, that's going to say, oh no, I don't want that, I'm ready to die, I'm like, no, mate. It's true, and I think this whole thing is this, going back to every question you've asked, it's making it relatable to them. If you can make them relate to it, whether it be personally, emotionally, or essentially, like, they get it, and they'll make it. When you're trying to sell the value of an ident, it's like, well, if without the ident, how are you going to get people to remember you? How much money does that make you? From a strategy, how much does a strategy cost? Well, it should cost $1 more than your last year's earnings, because we're out to make you more money. That's how much it should cost, right? And if you start thinking about stuff like that, and then when you get Mr. Finance guy or Mr. CFO challenging you back, then that's when you can start really trying to get these guys to understand. But we keep bringing this guy back up, but he did get rebranded, and I have seen it on LinkedIn. So I don't.
How is it?
Well, I'm past judgment, but you know what I mean. Like, so he did get his own way. Now, whether that's helped his business or not, I don't know. I'd love to know that, but yeah, the one that got away, shall we say?
Oh, we have like 5 minutes left of the meeting, unfortunately. But let's send another link if you want to continue.
Yeah, like, I'm cool. Like, I'm good. Sure. I'm good till 1. So.
Yeah,
me too.
Until 1, yeah.
Is this going to run out, or you just carry on?
This is going to run out. We have 5 minutes left.
So what are you going to do? Are you going to send a link to maybe our LinkedIn DM then?
Yeah. So it's to the same group. I'm sorry about that. I should have upgraded my plan We're just
No worries.
now.
If you're going to do this more, you definitely should, yes.
Yeah.
It's all good.
No worries. I'll see you in a second.
All right. All right, I'll send another link.
No worries.
That's why I don't, and that's why personally, because of the fluidity of people, I don't really believe in user personas, right? I believe in understanding what's their pain, and I believe in finding ways with storytelling, brand authenticity, and relatability to connect with them. But you cannot frame people. It's hard to frame people because I'm always the same person, even if I wear a tuxedo at night, but then the next day I wake up and I go to work with Crocs, and then I'm wearing shorts, and then the same day I'm going to a hip hop event, right? I'm always the same person, but I'm interacting with tons of different brands and live events, which is it's really just simply really hard to frame people into one single group. So brands they need to have the ability to brand every day, constantly evolve, constantly be relevant, and find different and new ways to create that connection.
Yeah.
I think from a story point of view as well, I think that's when brand crumbles, when you're not aligning those things with the customer. Again, I'll reference Martin Neumeyer because we all know his work, but he's got this framework. I don't know whether you've seen it, where he aligns it's called the I am's POV. So on the right hand side, you've got the purpose, the loneliness, and then the values, which has to align with the customer's other side, which is the identity, aims,
And mores,
the tribes. Yeah. So it's basically your purpose has to align with the identity of the customer. Your owniness has to identify with what they want, and the last part is the values. Yeah, that's right. The mores, the tribes, mores has to your values have to align with their with what they stand for and how they belong as well. So I think if any of that doesn't align, it slowly starts to kind of crumble.
Yeah. So I think when we mention like the target audience and what the consumers want, I think companies should also invest heavily in research. Because a lot of people, especially creative agencies, they don't invest in these things.
Yeah, it's another tricky topic, because you might invest, and you rightly said, like you need data, you need facts, you need insight, but you might invest in $500,000 into the most complex customer research and trend research report, but then if you are not able to correctly interpret this data and take action on it and draw a potential success path, then it's wasted. So yes, it's vital to connect data, but it's even more vital to know how to decipher it and utilize it in a way that you can take calculated guesses on what could be a potential success path, because the reality is not even the most famous seasoned brand strategy in the world can give you a definitive strategy for success. All strategies are potential outcomes drafted out of potential understanding of what could happen. So you are preparing for something that did not happen yet, and by definition is an option, right? There are always at least 3 potential options that you do with your brand strategy. Which one do we want to go for? Which one are we willing to invest and risk on it? And then we go for it. Data helps, but once again, you need to be able to make the most out of it and then align the whole organization. Okay, hey guys and girls, this is where we go. This is what we're going to be doing, and we're going to be dynamic, agile enough to make constant improvement on that as well, right? So because once you're out with a new brand, rebrand, new positioning, that's just the beginning. Literally, that's just the beginning. You might have invested a whole year for that positioning, but actually the real journey starts now. And that's, again, as you were mentioning before, another of those misunderstandings with the clients and with the agency as well, right? Once the strategy is there, we have to utilize it and we have to constantly improve on it, because every day is a good day to build your brand. You literally cannot stop. The moment you stopped, you missed opportunities.
I love that question, and I love this topic as well. And Martin's so spot on when it comes to is how you approach that research and how the mindset you go into when you're looking at that data as well, because you can always look at data and have a look at the trends and find out from focus groups what people want more of, so you can maybe create something better of the same thing, or you can totally look at that and the implications of doing something completely different means that you've actually got a more of an innovative brand. And that's the thing with some of this data as well. Like you'll find that a lot of the real successful brands, they don't actually perform that well when in focus groups and things like that, because it's kind of unheard of. Like, so if you're asking the customer, what do you think of this? Everyone pretty much shies away from, I'm not sure, until it's actually on the market. And that's when it really gets tested. And that's how you're really kind of doing something different. So yeah, great to use research and data, but it's exactly like Martin says, it's how you use that information.
And lastly, I would throw the big curveball and say, like, data's only relevant to things that have already happened. So it's not future. So who knows what's going to happen? You can forecast it, you can forecast data, and you can look at trends and patterns, but you still got to have that gut feeling about what's going to happen and how we make that punt. And do we, the bigger decision then is, do we make the punt or do we stay safe? Like, it's up to you.
And that's funny, not saying. Sorry, Martin.
Go on.
I was going to say that's not saying that we're kind of spraying and praying. It is still calculated risks. But it is taking risks, and you've got to take risks.
And minimize that risk.
There is a really good example that I was really surprised when I discovered. Like, if you remember the 2008 recession, right? It was one of the biggest downfall of global economy, right? And it was predicted that successful brands will be brands that are helping with the cost of living crisis, aka Primark, TK Maxx, all the discount shops. Now, I don't know where the listeners are living, they're coming from, but all of these discount shops like Pound Shop and basically value brands. But then there were also brands like Netflix and Hermes and Brompton foldable bikes, which were completely out of prediction, and this brand absolutely smashed it. And how ironic is it that one of the most luxurious fashion brand like Hermes made their best year in one of the worst economical year in history, right? Who could have predicted that?
No.
Right? We could have looked at data and said, okay, I'm going to invest all my money in Pound Shop because the recession is here. No one will ever told you invest your money in Hermes because he's going to grow during a recession year. So it's tricky. Data helps you create formulated guesses and prediction, but you will never be in 100% confident place, right? And what that tells you is that yes, you do your calculation, you do prediction, you do your studies, but ultimately you're gonna sit with the C-suite and say, all right, boys and girls, which direction are we going? What are we feeling the most confident with? And how might we keep implementing in real time? That's the key scenario.
And it goes back to our sessions as well. There's been so many sessions where I've seen Wes trying to get alignment at the start of the session, even if we go out of, which happens often, we go out of sync with our kind of agenda times, which we have to stay strict to, but he won't let people give in with just an okay. And similar at the end as well, he'll ask that question like, are we down to do this? Seriously, are we down to do this? And if there's any kind of quivering or sense of not sure, we won't leave that room, right, Wes?
Yeah, I don't just want to be a tick in the box. I don't just want us to be, giving me the answers just to move us on and get us out of their face because they feel uncomfortable. Like, no, if I'm not bought in, and I think that comes back to having 3 of us in a room as well. Like, if 2 of them say yeah they're good, then I'm okay with it, But when you're on your own, you don't know when to give in. It's that awkward scenario of I'm going to keep asking until I'm comfortable, and that can sometimes be a bit detrimental. But definitely for the atmosphere, for the environment. So
Definitely.
What's on your mind then, Vader? What else? What else are you thinking? Like, how can we help? I suppose others out there that are kind of younger in there or just starting their journey in the strategy or in a brand world.
I think it's really more about being articulate. Like, you can get all the frameworks in the world, but if you're not articulate as a person, then you're gonna fail at it. So this is what I'm working on, and I kind of struggled.
Love
Like
that.
my latest strategy session, I kind of really gave up on it. Like, I'm gonna work on them again, but really I felt like, so I'm not gonna name names because, well, yeah, let's just leave it at that.
No, go on, name them.
No.
Do it.
Oh, no, it's gonna be bad. But initially, this company, what we found in the strategy sessions was that they kind of went astray from their initial brand. Like, they had this passion of starting a creative agency, and it's very difficult to do brand strategy for creative agencies specifically. It's very difficult. Because they're creatives and they're passionate. They want to do SEO, they want to do marketing, they also want to pitch creative ideas without any data, and they're like, they don't want to follow the brand strategy route. So it's very difficult to get them in a position where they can potentially scale the business to where they want to be. So yeah, initially our finding was that they're supposed to connect back to their roots. Like, they started as a creative agency who wants to kind of question the status quo and do things differently, and they actually do like really great work. But then in the end, that was our key discovery. They were like, oh, you did nothing, this was there all along, then why did we get you to do this? But I was like, okay, didn't we discover that we need to reconnect back to our roots? So that was kind of the whole thing. And being someone my age, it's extremely difficult to gain that credibility since you don't have those studies yet, and you're young, and you're having somebody sitting across the room who's like 45, and they're like looking at you like, okay, I have more experience than you teaching me and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really about, I think young people, who are starting out, they should build case studies and really like kind of build their personal brand. Because it's really difficult to pinpoint one specific thing that can help people.
I think it also goes.
Credibility. Go on, Ganesh.
I think it goes back to that what you mentioned. I had my first failure, and Martin said congratulations, and he said it jokingly, but he meant it seriously as well, because that's the way you learn through experience. And going back to also my initial thing is, like, I don't think age is a thing, and I think you should really, or anyone listening here should take that out of their mind. Like, I learned so much of my younger brother and my younger sister because they've got totally different experiences. I think that experience is the operative word that we should be focusing on.
Yeah, and even in this group, we have quite a split of experience, age, and culture and diversity, and I think it doesn't mean anything. We're all saying the right thing in alignment, right? But like going back to that point, I think you're building brands, right? As a brand strategy, you're building brands. The first brand that you should build, it's yours, right? I wish I could have started 10 years ago, but 10 years ago, I was a completely different person, not really close to this one. I was doing and thinking other different things. So, but that's the reality. We in order to build your credibility and have people buying from you, you have to invest in your brand. And that's the most common problem in UK. They say the cobbler shoes are always broken, and that's so true, right? So how can you apply for a position or pitch for a position or want to work with a company when you actually don't have a brand yourself? I think that's a big lack of credibility. And then, as Ash was saying, it's about getting better, it's about failing. And I love this profession so much because it keeps me at ease with my shiny object syndrome. And I tell you why. Because every time I'm doing a brand strategy, every time I'm learning something, and I never niche down, I never choose a specific industry. I'm deliberately sector agnostic because it always gives me a fresh perspective into the new industry. And every time I tell to myself, this was the best strategy I've ever done. This was the best strategy I've ever done. This was the best strategy I've ever done. And I think that is so true, because the more we do, the more we learn, and what we learn from one client, we bring to the next one, and to the next one, and to the next one. It's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah, our sessions are ever evolving. And even now, hundreds, I don't know how many of sessions I've done, but you still learn something. You still get an insight from a session where a client will ask that question. You're like, right, I need to address that next time. Like if I'm not addressing that, like there's something wrong, like we need to fix that, and we'll amend the deck. And these can be days apart. Like you can do a session on a Friday and deliver on a Monday, and in between that Friday and Monday, you're adapting it, you're changing it. It's ever evolving.
So dynamic. It's like what you were saying, Ida, before about frameworks. Frameworks are beautiful. It's such a good starting point. But then when you realize that frameworks are useless, that's where you start to put the sixth gear in, right? So framework is a starting point. It gives you a place of confidence where you can fall back to it. But then more and more you do, we started designing our own stuff in the last couple of years, right? So we do the brand audit, we understand the problem, we frame the problem, we work together with the CMO of the company, and then we design our own frameworks, we design our own workshop, our own stuff, which is a remix, right? It's a bit like hip hop, right? So you have two turntables, you mix them and become something new. But we do that all the time. And that's where you fully understand the magic of brand strategy. And that's what also the problem of brand strategy is. A framework does not make you a brand strategist.
Exactly.
No. The delivery, that's the irony of everything. Is in communities that I'm involved in and people I talk on many levels and places and positions in their career, everyone can have the same framework. The irony is that strategists are all taught the same way. We're all taught to use similar frameworks, and we're all taught, the output. Yeah. But the delivery is your IP. How we deliver that, how we leave that impression, how we make people feel, what they get from it, how they're going to talk about us. Small little things emotionally that have sensual contacts, the emotional contacts, the physical contacts. Like they're the bits that count.
When you just pointed to your head, I was going to think one word. What can I think? One word is the thinking. That's the IP. Yeah, the framework will help all of that, but that thinking changes every time. And going back to that point where, like if you're ever at a point where you think I'm done, I'm not a work in progress anymore, you really are done then. Like I don't ever want to stop being a work in progress, just in life generally, but also from strategy session to the next strategy session. If I'm done, then I feel I'm restricted, and the output for this session is going to be pretty much similar to the last one, and that's not any way to approach
Well, when I was starting out like my own strategy venture, first thing I wanted to do was to get my strategy done from another strategist. So I'm pretty sure
very
that
smart.
you heard of like Fabian Gerhalter.
Yeah.
Yes. He's brilliant.
One of my favorites. He's one of my favorite people. So I had like my brand positioning course from him, and then there's another brand scientist in the Middle East. He's pretty famous there. He's called Bagil Said. So I had like my personal brand done by him. So yeah, like that's how I wanted to start, because I want to practice what I preach. So I'm not just gonna open up a venture like that and tell other people, hey, start with the strategy, and not do it myself.
Smart.
Yeah. Definitely.
And like speaking of frameworks, there's like a different framework for every different client because we cannot use the same thing for somebody else. It might not work for them. So upon having the discovery call, I know what to work on and I know how to design the framework. So that's how it's going. But at the end of the day, I end up like kind of compromising my own agenda because when the client is at that point where they're speaking passionately about something, I let them speak. I don't want to interrupt them.
You have to.
Exactly. When they're going on and on about their passions, right, we don't want to stop them right there because we could potentially like miss a whole direction, right, and miss the whole
Totally.
Again, it comes down to delivery, and there's an art in knowing when to keep quiet. There's an art in knowing when to let them talk. There's an art into when you want to guide them and nudge them. You know, we're brand coaches in a room. We're coaching you through this. You know, our objective is to get information out of you, and then we form that into a strategy. We don't land the strategy on that day. And again, like a lot of people that I mentor and that I bring in through, their biggest fears, frustrations, and stresses and insecurities is around like what happens when that door closes. Like what happens then? How do I do this? When do I do this? How do I deliver this? How do I challenge somebody in a positive way? Like, you know, there's so many things that I think you're only going to learn by doing as a strategist. You know, putting yourself in that situation, and if it's a difficult situation, it's probably a beneficial like thing that you realize how to get out of that situation, because there's no, once that door's closed, there's no getting out. Like you're in there, you know what I mean? And until it's done. And if you leave that bad impression early, or you create a little nemesis in the room early, you've got to sit in there for 8 hours with them. Like figure that out. You know?
That's very difficult.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the key points, isn't it? Like getting comfortable enough to abandon the framework and start doing your own thing.
Yeah.
It's one thing, and the other thing is exactly what you were saying, Gaida. The trying to balance the agenda, the limited time, with them being into the spilling part, right? When their brain is cut in half and everything is spilling down, is dripping, and you're just trying to gather it with the different buckets. When is the right time to stop? When are we going over with the agenda, but also realizing that we're going deeper with the conversation? And I think that's the challenge as well. And no one teaches you that, right? That's a facilitation. That the only way you can do it is by doing it. I know sometimes when I collaborate with another agency, I have the PM poking me. We have no time, we need to move on. But I'm trying to explain, no, like there is tons of stuff that they're saying. They are warm, they're opening, they are being active into the delivering of the knowledge. I think we should be a sponge at this point versus being the arrow, right? We should absorb as much as we can. And sometimes it comes from the junior person. It comes from the intern. It comes from the most recent hire, right? There might be people that have been 25 years in the business, but at that point you develop those side blockers like the horses, you know, your tunnel vision. And the new person that comes, the most quiet, the most shy, the intern that is there that just joined the company, that person might be the person that says that one thing, boom, that gives you that aha moment, right? So again, frameworks are helping, but also there are so many things that you only learn by doing, by failing, by having good client, bad client. Me and Wes collaborated a few months ago with a huge company, and it just didn't work out. And even though we've been doing this for a number of years, we consider ourselves, you know, I wouldn't say veterans, but expert in what we're doing. It just didn't work out. We sat down and we tried to analyze piece by piece what didn't happen. We developed a whole new document, which became a whole new piece of our process, and that helps us avoid this situation.
Yeah.
But that's the only way. And as humans, we all know that we just need to hit our head, right? The Italians will say, you learn only when you hit your face in the brick wall. That's where you learn, right? And if you're 1 inch from the brick wall, but you didn't hit it, you're still not learning. You hit it, and then you realize, oh, there is a brick wall. What am I going to do? Maybe I should have turned left. And that's the reality. You know, that cliche, fail fast and learn, it's simply true.
Yeah. And going back to that happened, the interesting bit that came out of it wasn't really on our own abilities. It wasn't on the session itself. A lot of it was the setup to the session. Like Martin referenced earlier in the call, like we need to get everyone aligned before we get in that room. There's a clear objective, and you guys need to trust me, and I need to trust you. And if we don't have that, we might
don't take it. Don't do it. Yeah, the pre-workshop, the pre-strategy preparation is as important as the actual outcome and the workshop as well. Right? Are the people trusting us? Is every one of the 10, 15, 20, 100 people involved in the workshop aligned with what we're doing? Do we have friends? Do we have partners? Because we need to be part of the same team and working together. You simply cannot be parachuted into a workshop during the workshop day and do the workshop. It doesn't work. You need to have some sort of relationship with these people, and they need to understand that you're doing it properly. And the three of us, the way that we work, we spend tons of time in doing a brand audit of what is already being done by this company, trying to frame the same trying to frame the right problem, because we don't want to be ground zero. We don't want to be an atomic bomb into this company, right? We want to be enablers. We want to be facilitating what worked, improving what we didn't work, and creating what needs to be done. Because even psychologically, if you don't do an audit and you don't take account of what they're doing, these people will feel like, who is this dude coming here telling us what to do, scrapping all our good work, right? So psychologically, it's really important that we're all aligned. If there is no that alignment, it's gonna fail. And I've been there a few times, and I learned it, right? And I wasn't doing this total audit. Now I never compromise. Always audit. Otherwise, I don't do the workshop.
Yeah, and even like rituals and processes we brought in, like when we get brought in by other agencies to work with them, sometimes those processes are missed. And when they're missed, you realize how valuable they actually are. Like, I don't want to give too much away about what we do, but we definitely screen everyone in the room. We know who's going to be in. We convince the CEOs and everyone that they have to have these heads in the room with them. There's no point trying to deliver a strategy to one or two people at the top, because it's not have any impact whatsoever.
No. And again, this has nothing to do with frameworks, isn't it? This is just humans.
It's all about emotion and understanding and preparing for anything that can happen in that room.
There's so many dynamics involved outside just the work that you do. Like we hinted on a lot of those things. It's the psychology, relationships, identifying whether there is that commitment and passion from all of the team. There's so much involved before you actually get into the actual work, and it's all part of that process.
Yeah.
Gaida, I'm gonna have to drop off. If that's okay.
Oh, we ran over.
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed this conversation. It's one of these topics that we can talk about for hours and days, maybe as well. But I really appreciate you inviting us on here. So thanks so much.
Yeah, let us know when you release this, obviously, and we'll all promote it and be off the back of it. So.
Of course, yeah. I'll share it, in a week or two. But thank you so much. Thank you guys for hopping on. Very, very valuable. And I want to say that I'm so honored to have you guys here, because I have been fangirling over Level C for a very, very long time. And I'm hoping to, get the certifications as well and study and get a proper education. May I be successful, upcoming strategy ventures. So yeah. This was a very enlightening conversation, and I wish we had more time, but unfortunately, it's been too long.
And I think just on that note, I would just like to say is that you've already started getting that accreditation by the work that you're doing. So don't forget that, as don't forget the experience. Sorry, Martin, I cut you off.
No. I was gonna say something really similar. I completely lost track of time. I was really enjoying it. Thank you so much for having us. And
likewise. And hopefully, if you do take Level C, I'll be working with you there too. So.
Oh yeah, Wes is one of the captains there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Well, yeah, you're on your way. You're smart-minded. Don't worry about that. I think just get roll your sleeves up, and Level C is all about understanding the bigger picture, really. That you will learn the understanding of framework and all the things around that, but Level C is more about putting you in that situation, in that position where you're going to struggle, and it's going to teach you how to work through it. And that's the beauty of that course. You know, it throws you in at the deep end and makes you think and react.
And it's a great community as well of people that are just supporting each other.
It's aligning to everything we said, right? It's all around, everything around the strategy is what really is the vital learning, and that's basically what Level C does.
Awesome.
No worries.
Great. All right then, guys. Thank you. Thanks for coming on. We're gonna hop off now.
Okay.
Pleasure.
Good. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Take care. See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.